right here. At home. Protect your out. We put the work in. Let's finish. Come on, man. Let's do this. Family up here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
You see, we dream chase, because that's all we was given to start with. Then we realized the dream was obtainable. Now look at us.
What's going on, Eagles Nation and TMTP family? Welcome back to another episode here on the Main Thing Podcast Presents. It's your bull, Mr. Owens. And after further review, the call stands. I'm still official with no stripes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, thank you for tapping back in with the Main Thing Podcast Presents, where we keep the main thing the main thing. So now look, we got this Eagles versus Commanders recap, but this game did look meaningless on the surface, but that film, it told a lot of truth for our Philadelphia Eagles. Backups were everywhere. There was a lot of sloppy execution, coaching decisions under a microscope now. And some young players either earned trust or lost it completely. We're going to break down everything that y'all need to know, from offense to defense to injuries, roster notes, key numbers, and yeah, the real message coming out of this game. But before we get into all of that, to our loyal supporters, thank you. Y'all know it's all love. The Main Thing Podcast Presents can't happen without the support from y'all. And to our new supporters, welcome to the community and our family. Let's continue to do our part for the community and our family. Please continue to like the videos. It does help with the visibility in the algorithm. Disrespect that comment section. Share and subscribe to the community and our content. And last but not least, we're going to remind you all 2026. Make sure to turn on the noties and keep your ears and eyes peeled to the streets like your local neighborhood watch. So you don't miss when me and Big Hus drop this pressure on y'all. So let's get into it. The game context and the flow. Let's be honest, family. This game had a JV matinee type of energy, that 4:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday type of feel, man. Most of the starters did rest. The coaches clearly thought that they could survive the night without sweating, all right? Football does not care about a vibe check. The Eagles committed 9 penalties. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, again, discipline issues, whether it's starters or backups. 9 penalties for a season high of 123 yards, including not 1, not 2, but 3. You got it. You guessed it right. 3 pass interference penalties in the end zone, which directly led to 2 of the Washington Commanders touchdowns. All right. And somehow, some way, the Eagles got beaten by 39-year-old Josh Johnson, Washington's 3rd string quarterback. That's not disrespect by no means, but it's reality, all right? After beating Buffalo on the road the week prior, a game that felt like a turning point for the Eagles in this 2025 NFL season, this was a hard snapback to reality moment for all of us. The number 2 seed, poof, pow, be gone. It vanished, all right? The margin for error now is even slimmer than it was before. So now let's take it over to our offense and Tanner McKee and the real reality check that we had on Sunday versus Washington Commanders. All right, let's talk about the biggest storyline. If the goal for Tanner McKee was to showcase and potentially raise his trade value and his stock, that plan did backfire. Oh man, it backfired badly. All right, McKee finished 21 of 40, which equates to about 52 or 53% completion percentage for 241 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. But those numbers do not tell the full story. Look, follow me now. Follow me in this chapter, all right? He was placed behind an entirely backup offensive line that could not handle the second level pressure that the Washington defense was bringing all day. And his biggest limitation showed up immediately. Tanner McKee simply cannot create outside of structure. When the pocket collapsed, the play collapsed in total, okay? There was no escape hatch. Jalen Hurts, QB1, he routinely bails out the offense with his mobility, which Tanner McKee does lack, as we all know. McKee simply does not have enough tools in his bag yet, and that's not an insult, but it is reality, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. But our coaches didn't help him out either. They were heavy on empty sets, tight window throws, very few easy completions for the young quarterback, and little margin for error. All right. So this was not a quarterback friendly game plan at all. All right. Kevin Patullo did not help him out with the concepts, with the design, with the structure of the offense versus the Washington Commanders. But that interception that Tanner McKee threw, it was disgusting, downright ugly. All right. But it was very much also predictable. All right. Tanner McKee throws with anticipation, which is usually a good thing, but he released the ball far too early than he needed to, hoping that the vertical route will pull the safety away, but it didn't. Over time, Tanner McKee will realize that play style does indeed lead to turnovers. That fourth down miss, though, that late fourth down miss, it was bad because we had Britton Covey wide open. The ball was forced to Jahan Dotson, and it sailed out of bounds. You cannot have that on a fourth down play where we need to make a play to extend this drive to potentially win the game. Once the structure broke down, again, everything just simply fell apart, and the coaches have a piece in all of that, all right? So the bottom line is Tanner McKee is a solid backup quarterback, but this game showed exactly why he's not more than just that right now, okay? One other thing, what I noticed too, it was a third down. Tanner McKee had that ability. He got out the pocket. He had the ability to pick up the first down with his legs, but he tried to force it into Darius Cooper. That's something that he's going to learn along the way with more repetitions and more practice in game situations like that. Sometimes it's better just to pick up the first down or get chunk yardage by your legs as a quarterback instead of trying to force the ball in. But again, Tanner McKee, he's young. He's going to continue working, continue improving, and getting better day by day. But we do have a positive on the offensive side of the ball, and that was Tank Bigsby, which he was one of the few true positives on offense. Bigsby had 75 yards on 16 carries and scored a 2-yard touchdown that briefly gave the Birds a 14-10 lead. All right. What I noticed about Tank Bigsby versus the Washington Commanders was he ran with a lot of violence, a lot of contact balance, and vision. He found yards when there really wasn't many yards to be had behind the makeshift offensive line. The Eagles even pulled both the center and the left guard at times, something we haven't seen much this year. And Brett Toth quietly held up better than expected, and especially in the run game. Tank Bigsby does deserve a larger role. Me and Big Huss clamor about this all the time here on our channel. Some tough yards, we know he's not Saquon Barkley, and it's not saying that Saquon Barkley has taken a step back, but sometimes Saquon tries to go for the big play, whereas Tank Bigsby takes the yards that are given to him, okay? But going forward, it will help with a dynamic duo, a 1-2 punch to help Saquon Barkley get a spell and take some rest and let Tank Bigsby do his thing on the field. This is not a hot take, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is truly earned by Tank Bigsby. Also worth noting was Grant Calcaterra finally got used properly and caught a 15-yard touchdown, his first of the season. So clap it up for him. Smitty, DeVonta Slim Reaper Smith, congrats to him. He hit the 1,000 receiving yard mark for the third time in 4 seasons. So that equates to 75%. He is looking like a superstar. He was out there looking like a superstar among backups. We can see why DeVonta Smith is one of the top receivers in the NFL. He significantly just looked better than everyone on the field, which unintentionally highlighted how reliant this offense is on either talent rather than the structure that needs to be in place by Kevin Patullo and the offensive staff. Let's flip it over to a unit that doesn't miss a beat often, and that's the defense. But Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Axeman Jr., Jalyx Hunt, and a tale of 2 units. All right, let's talk about this defense because this is where things really get interesting. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was the clear standout on Sunday afternoon. What jumped off the film was his instincts in the defense, his processing speed of the plays, and him coming downhill and filling holes violently in the run game. He consistently beat blockers to spots and rarely took false steps. And he's not an elite athlete. That's where we got to get. But he plays fast because he sees fast, all right? If Nakobe Dean does, in fact, move on from the Eagles this offseason, the film absolutely should justify giving Jeremiah Trotter Jr. meaningful reps next season. But the Eagles linebacker room, something that we have lacked in the past by getting bargain bin linebackers, quietly has been one of the strongest position groups on the roster here in 2025. But Jalyx Hunt, superstar in the making, only in his 2nd year, he continues to be one of the most remarkable breakout seasons in franchise history. Jalyx Hunt recorded his 3rd interception of the season, a fumble recovery, and pressure that directly influenced bad throws by Josh Johnson. He has finished the season with 52 tackles, 24 quarterback hits, 6.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. I'm like, God dang it, man. Wait, that boy Jalyx Hunt is turning into a superstar right before our eyes. He became the first Eagle ever to lead the team in both sacks and interceptions. My man say you get a 2-for-1 special over here. BOGO, buy one, get one. Y'all already know the vibes here, and that's not an opinion. This is history made with the Philadelphia Eagles, and you know how the franchise have been. We've had some dogs come through Philadelphia, this storied franchise that we have here, and him being the first player to ever do it. This just shows the maturity. This shows the growth and the want to be the best. And Jalyx Hunt, we're going to continue supporting you and being behind you every step of the way because you are a budding superstar in the making. This staff does trust him on this defensive side of the football, and his former safety background is showing up in a big way. Of course, with his 3 interceptions on the season, you can see that he has hands. He knows how to break on a football and make that play when it needs to be made. He's not just a rotational rusher anymore, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. He is a legitimate chess piece that Godfather Vic can use in this defense, okay? So now it's always a bad and ugly going on, and the secondary depth stinks. This is the hard part, though, all right? The quarterback that was exposed brutally on Sunday versus the Washington Commanders, Jacorian Bennett, who we received in a trade for Thomas Booker with the Las Vegas Raiders this offseason. He cannot survive in coverage without grabbing. This is about like the 3rd or 4th time that I've seen him holding, grabbing, falling to his knees, sliding, getting rug burn, carpet burn, grass burn, whatever you want to call it. I've seen it all with Jacorian Bennett, and the quarterback seemingly target him relentlessly. They look over C23 and be like, you know what? We're going to this side of the field because I like our odds over here versus that cornerback. And also, Keely Ringo, he just looked lost, hesitant, and low on confidence. I don't know what he was doing on that play versus Josh Johnson when Josh Johnson scrambled out to the left near the goal line, and then Keely Ringo just turned his back to find the receiver instead of going to attack the ball carrier. Crazy work. He does well in the gunner role on special teams. But Keely Ringo, I don't know what his future is here in Philadelphia. Even though he is part of that Georgia fraternity that we have here in Philadelphia, Keely Ringo was supposed to be the starter before the season started, but he has fallen out of grace and favor with Vic Fangio. So I again do not know what his future does look like. But Mac McWilliams, our draftee, our 5th-round draftee, I believe, committed a 29-yard end zone PI. That hurt badly. All right. That was on Deebo Samuel, but that was 3 PI calls inside the 5-yard line that led directly to Washington Commander touchdowns. All right. They were not borderline penalties. These were obvious, and they flipped the momentum of the game in every single way. Keely Ringo's breakdown on Josh Johnson's bootleg touchdown, again, as I said, that is inexcusable. Okay, Sidney Brown continues to sink down the depth chart for a reason. We see him out on the field. He's lost in coverage. He comes down and over pursues the ball carrier. He doesn't manage himself with controlled aggression, and we can't have that on the back end, especially with the safety being the last line of defense. We can't have a player back there that's not understanding the scheme, not understanding the concepts, and not really truly understanding how to play the safety position. If any of the top 3 corners go down, whether that be Quinion, Coop, or Adoree in the playoffs, the Eagles are walking a very, very tight, thin line with that. Okay. But let's bring this home, family. This game reinforced one undeniable truth, not only for the Eagles organization, but us as a fan base. QB1 and the elite talent that Howie Roseman has constructed on this roster cover up a lot of flaws. All right. We still have spacing issues. The structure is still very much so fragile, and a lack of easy answers. I don't know. Maybe we need a Blues Clues or something. When plays break down, they're non-existent. All right. But it also did show us something important. The front 7, yeah, they're ready for playoff football. Players like Jeremiah Trotter and Jalyx Hunt prove that they belong, but the margin for error is razor thin. The Eagles gambled. They rested their starters. They paid for it. And now the number 2 seed is gone, but the mission isn't gone anymore. If the starters do stay healthy, this team can still make a deep run in the playoffs. And as we've said multiple times here on the Main Thing Podcast Presents, we see this team going to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara in February and hoisting that Lombardi and being the 3rd back-to-back team in NFL history to do so. But if not, the cracks that we saw on Sunday will be tested immediately in the playoffs. That's the truth. And around here at the Main Thing Podcast Presents, we don't sugarcoat anything. But look, to all of our family and supporters, I hope that you all been having an amazing start to your 2026. I hope that you all have been blessed and prosperous. And always remember, no matter how big or how small the step is, make sure that you continue taking a step and putting in the work every single day. But please be on the lookout because we'll put out his in-week video tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we'll put our preview for that San Francisco playoff game that we're having at the link on Sunday afternoon. But as always, to our loyal supporters, thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all know it's all love. The Main Thing Podcast Presents can't happen without the support from y'all. And to our new supporters, welcome to the community and our family. Look, let's continue to do our part for the community and our family. Please continue to like the videos. It does help with the visibility in the algorithm. Disrespect that comment section, share, and subscribe to the community and our content. And last but not least, don't forget to do this in the 2026, man. Make sure to turn on that notification bell, also known as the Liberty Bell looking thingy, so you don't miss when Swoop comes out with the Eagles news and updates. But if you forgot who I am by now, don't worry about it. I'll kindly remind you. I go by Mr. Owens. And this is the Main Thing Podcast presents, where we keep the main thing the main thing. Y'all know it's always love. It's always go birds. And look, it's fly equals fly. We out here, all right?
It was I was gonna make a lot of money doing what I wanted to do. I went after it, and it was a struggle to achieve it. But you know what? I caught that bitch. Dream chasing.